But first, I don't trust them, and nor should you. I don't trust Russia, don't trust Indonesia, and certainly don't trust or believe the Albanese government. Do not believe its extraordinary spin today trying to convince us that no, we're not in danger from Russian warplanes in our region. I'm going to show you how Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and his top two ministers in charge of our security tried to fool you about that today, and even claimed that the real danger here, it's not Russia at all, it's Peter Dutton. Now, yesterday, the government freaked to hear that Jane's, which is an authoritative military intelligence website, said that Russia had asked to station some of its long-range military aircraft in Indonesia, just 1,200 kilometres from us. And as I said last night, this is frightening because there's absolutely no reason for Russia to want its air force in our area unless it's to help its great ally China in war. Like, China's planned invasion of Taiwan, maybe an attack on the US base in Guam, maybe even just intimidating Australia. So no wonder the government panicked, because the last thing, obviously, Labor needs in this election campaign is evidence that war is coming our way, and particularly when this Albanese government just stripped our military bare to pay for the nuclear submarines we may never get. In fact, our army is so short of weaponry that former Chief of Army Peter Leahy complained today that there's nothing left for bloody guns. It's so bad that the reason Australia had to ask New Zealand to monitor 3 ships that China sent here in February to fire weapons and intimidate Australia, the reason was that both of our 2 new supply vessels are broken, so our Navy cannot refuel any of its ships at sea. I mean, how pathetic is that? But relax, because late yesterday, Defence Minister Richard Marles announced that Indonesia's Defence Minister had just told him that reports of the prospect of Russian aircraft operating from Indonesia are simply not true. What a relief, yeah? It's not true. You can go back to sleep. The Russians aren't coming. But wait. In fact, the Jane's story has not been denied at all, not the facts in it. Labor is trying to blind you to a growing danger that caught Miles Albanese and Foreign Minister Penny Wong dangerously unaware. What Jane's actually reported was that Russia had formally asked Indonesia in February for permission for Russian Aerospace Force aircraft to be based at a facility in Indonesia's easternmost province. Jane's even cited Indonesian government sources and documents it had seen to back it up. And that's it. Jane's did not say that Indonesia had agreed to that request. And it turns out that no detail in that report has actually been denied, specifically denied. Russia did make the request a couple of months ago, but Miles, Albanese and Wong today didn't want you to know that. They didn't want you to know. They'd known nothing about all this. You take the Defence Minister on Channel 9 today, refusing to give a straight answer that Russia had indeed asked Indonesia for a base.
Did Russia put the airbase on the table or not?
Well, I mean, Russia, we know Russia is active in the region. We know that they have conversations with people. What matters here, and I'm not about to go through the details of this in the media.
Albanese tried that same cheap, weaselly, my lips are sealed, to hide from you the fact that Russia indeed had plans for our region.
Second, you're saying a request was never made? We know that for sure, that a request was not made. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I'll act diplomatically with our friends in Indonesia.
And Penny Wong even appeared to deny that Russia had even asked Indonesia for a base.
We have not got confirmation of that approach.
Yet yesterday, before Labor worked out today's spin, very effective, Miles actually gave the game away, clearly suggesting, this is before he talked to the Indonesian Foreign Minister, there had indeed been a request.
We have already been engaged with Indonesia on this request. I'd note that at this point Indonesia has not responded to this request.
Today, though, the government is treating us all like mugs. I mean, Russian request? What Russian request? I mean, seriously. Let me repeat the truth that it's trying to hide. A truth that makes its weakening of our military a scandal. Indonesia's new president, Prabowo Subianto, has tied Indonesia much closer to Russia. And Albanese should have known this clear danger to our security, because one of Subianto's first trips after his election last year was to Russia to meet President Vladimir Putin, where he invited Russia to come to a defence exhibition and naval parade in Indonesia. Russia, in fact, did even better than that. It sent warships in November to train with Indonesia's Navy, and in February the head of Russia's Security Council visited Indonesia's defence minister, and that's where he reportedly made this request to base Russian military aircraft in Indonesia. He actually got a warm welcome.
CRG pada hari ini adalah wujud konkret daripada komitmen di.
So, look, Indonesia is almost certainly going to rule out a permanent Russian airbase, but it has in the past let Russian long-range bombers land and refuel, and Russia wants that and more now. In fact, Russia's ambassador in Indonesia today said, yes, military cooperation is an integral part of the intergovernmental relations between Russia and Indonesia. And he said the real danger was Australia. So this, not Peter Dutton, is the big issue here. We have a hostile Russian-Chinese alliance gradually surrounding Australia, with Albanese seemingly asleep and making our armed forces weaker when they should be stronger. This is extremely serious. Yet guess what the big media angle today was in all the news bulletins I saw. It wasn't that at all. Instead, the heat was on opposition leader Peter Dutton for saying this yesterday.
Did the Prime Minister know about this before it was publicly announced by the President of Indonesia?
Dutton had foolishly relied on one media report which falsely said that Indonesia's President had announced this offer. But that was all it took for Albanese, Miles and Wong to switch the story from their inaction to a serious threat to Dutton's irrelevant misspeak.
What we saw from Peter Dutton yesterday was an extraordinary overreach. He verbaled the President of Indonesia, in this case being quite reckless with a neighbour of Australia that is an important neighbour and friend of Australia in the President.
And honestly, that ridiculous spinning worked. And that's the line that many journalists ran with, especially on the ABC, Channel 9 as well. They all prefer to cover an attack on Dutton to covering a potential attack on Australia. But the bottom line is still this. The Russians are coming to help the Chinese dictatorship. And here's our Albanese government and our military with their pants around their ankles. And if we ignore that and just go with Labor's anti-Dutton spin, we really are asking for trouble.